Hello, and welcome to Top Realtors of Atlanta, sponsored by Commercial Capital Limited, your one-stop shop for all your commercial needs, and Taillefer Commercial Group. I'm your host, Brian Peart, the president of Commercial Capital Limited. Every 2 weeks, we bring you top realtors from the Atlanta market. This week, we're going to focus on commercial real estate, and we have with us two guests today, Tim Husted from the Taillefer Commercial Group and Jeff Hammond from SVN. So why don't I start with you, Tim? Tell us about what got you into this business and tell us about Taillefer Commercial Group.
Yeah, sure. I really appreciate you having us on as well. I've been in commercial real estate for about 3 years now, and I got in simply by dumb luck. My background is in user experience design and sales and operations. One of my clients owned a commercial real estate firm in Atlanta and saw how hard I was working for so little pay and decided to offer me an opportunity. So I ended up running with that, and then here I am 3 years later, now working with Bruno and the Taillefer Commercial Group. I really love doing commercial real estate because it's a wonderful blend of being social and being able to help people. But on the other side of it, there's a ton of research that goes into it and finding the data that is just going to perfectly fit your client or the asset that you're trying to sell.
So that feeds that part of your brain.
Yeah, I'm an introverted extrovert. Like, I like being social, but then I like being in my hole and kind of being a detective.
Cool.
Super fun.
Cool. Well, Jeff, I see your listings around, and we've done a lot of business together. So what are the keys to your success? And tell us about yourself, too, and about your company.
A little bit about myself. I've been in business for 12 years. Been commercial brokerage in 3 different states, hold 5 different brokerage licenses in 5 different states. Each one is very unique, which is what I like about it, how they do business. We are the 6th largest commercial brokerage house in the United States, and got over 2,000 brokers, and I'm ranking in the top 100. Yes, I'm a listing whore, as everybody calls me. But the thing I found out a long time ago is through what my mentor and coach, real estate coach, Andrew Lacey, who's based out of Spartanburg, South Carolina. He's taught me and helped me progress. 6 years ago, I made $120  1 year. And then after that, met him, and I have consistently made 6 figures and get higher and higher every year. About to hit the 7-figure mark probably this year alone, which is very exciting for me. But one of the fundamentals was called the ABCs, and it's all about every day bringing it. It's got your attitude, your belief, your commitment, your determination, your excitement, your focus will reach your goals. And my goals, from the emotional goals, from daily goals, that's been the key to my success. And every day I wake up, and talk about that, but I wake up with the attitude to help someone, not to sell somebody, not list someone's property, but to actually help someone. And that's what makes it exciting to get out of bed every day and put my heart into my company, my family, my business, and everything else. And that's why I enjoy commercial real estate. Definitely don't ever want to be a residential real estate agent ever, but this to me is business. And the mindset of the commercial brokers out there, they're all business. Right. And that's what, like, as we're talking about the data, for example, I was just having a conversation with my clients about this is how we need to strategize, and using NACIS codes, using ESRI, using site to do business, and explore in there. Because I started UPS way back in the day, and I was an industrial engineer. So going with that gives you that data. It's like, let's just don't do a shotgun approach here. Let's get laser approach. And that's the value of it. And then actually just think about it. You and I have talked many times, Brian. We talked about, okay, how can we strategize a deal using hard money here or bridge loans to help that future owner, purchaser buy it, or that seller come up with a strategy. That's why I like it so much. I just get excited. I can talk about it all day long. It never stops.
Well, it's not cookie cutter, right? It's every deal's its own deal, and there's a lot of different ways to skin it. And to your point about the people being a different mindset, it's an investment. So it's not like they're going to live there. Exactly. They're not planning where their kids are going to be staying. It's purely a numbers thing, and we can help them with that with the good data. So, Tim, why don't we go to you?
Sure.
What's differentiating KW Commercial from other firms around the marketplace?
There is a ton of exciting things going on at KW Commercial. So, first and foremost, a lot of people just think of KW as a residential powerhouse, which they are. There's 230,000 brokers nationwide. The great thing is that about 8 months ago, they realized the benefit of having a completely separate division for KW's commercial side and KW's residential side. So it is completely separate now from anything residential. The biggest benefactor that I've seen since only working here at KW since January, is a lot of new brokers that I've ran into in this industry. It's kind of the old school mentality of either you're going to have a mentor, here's a book of people to call, or you're thrown to the wolves and best of luck. And so KWC realized that there has to be some sort of standardized training for new brokers. So it can be, everybody has the same ideals, values, and instructions, whether you're in a house in Santa Monica, California, or down here in Atlanta. So what they rolled out last month was a training program called Nucleus. It is an 8-week online video sessions that go through the basics of sales versus leasing, tenant expectations, buyer and seller expectations, how to build a database in 8 weeks, and all the core fundamentals that normally somebody's going to have to figure out by trial and error during the first 3 years. I'm sure you remember when you first got into this industry, you're just kind of like swimming around going, okay, what do I do now? And with having such a structured process right now available for KWC, it creates a much more efficient platform and ultimately makes these new brokers a lot more successful in their first year than they would be at a traditional brokerage firm.
So both of you touched on this a little bit, you with training and you talking about your experience. So Jeff, why don't we take it back over to you? What is the benefit of the knowledge that you guys might have that would differentiate yourself from, say, a lot of people out there? Why is experience and knowledge so important to really taking care of your client in the commercial space?
Well, I think a couple things. One is let's just look at it from a residential versus commercial brokerage side. The residential agents, it's kind of like if you had cancer or you have a heart problem, you're going to go see the cardiologist or the oncologist. You're not going to go to your regular internist to take care of it. We are doctors. We're all residential agents, but who's are the specialists in that field? Because they know exactly what we need to do. That's why I like it. So then it's learning. So when you were talking about, I would remember the very first day I started McKelvey Properties in St. Louis. And it was dumb luck. My buddy that I played cards with, it was his wife, or his ex-wife says, you need to hire him. And you'll figure something else to do. And I thought I was going to be a property manager. Instead, I became an agent. And I sat down, here's your phone, go for it. And I mean, like, how do you do this? But my first client was OHM Group, concession group. They own about 80 units, Dunkin' Donuts, all through the place. But Milan was very patient with me. But
I actually know those guys.
Yeah, you do?
Yeah,
they're fabulous.
I did some loans for them.
Yeah, I could help you all day long. That taught Milan then.
Okay.
But the thing about it was, if it wasn't for Google, I probably would have failed because that's all. There was no training, and I literally went on and just started figuring out what's my rent to revenue for a quick service restaurant, and they're knowing it's 8%, and being able to talk to people and say, wait a minute, here's your problem. Your concern is that you cannot make this work. You can't go pay $6,000 when you're only going to make $500,000, and able to qualify them quicker, know who I want to do business with, because what we have is two things in this business: our knowledge and our time. And we don't need people who are going to suck us away. So if they're not going to listen to what we talk about and listen to our guidance, I don't need to do business with them. Mm-hmm. And when I go out somewhere and when I go get a new listing or anything, I interview that person. They think they're interviewing me. Actually, I'm interviewing them. Because if they're a drain on me in that 20 minutes I'm out there, they're going to be a drain on our staff and drain on me. I don't need them to call them up every day. I'm a businessman. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get to it, get to the point, and let's move on. Mm-hmm. So, but also in the training, it's interesting. SVN has their Jumpstart program, but I noticed that KW pushes it better because I feel like that KW commercial has a fantastic way, even down to using some of the old Marcus Millichap techniques of doing a database. SVN, we don't push it as much because we're all independent franchisees.
Oh, interesting.
And even though we have 3 here, we don't collaborate as much as KW does. NAI, of course, I love NAI. It's where I cut my teeth down in South Florida. I love those guys. They really support you corporately. But SVN does do it. But you got a new broker, you're going to send them away to a training jumpstart that costs some dollars. And that's it's kind of hard to ask someone to go spend money for training to put it. But I'm looking at our churn that we have in our company, and it's because of that. You know, Andrew Lacey, where he has helped us is teaching us the prospecting, gives us a scripted listing presentation, what goes above and beyond the SVN does. With the CCIM background, I have a master's in public administration, which is the same thing.
Oh, okay.
So that gives us that strategy to help these young kids that come in. Plus, we have a new thing we have to look at. Everyone's not a silver-haired guy anymore. It's over 50 years old that's in this industry. It's turning. It's literally the millennials are out there, and you have to learn their techniques and how they think and approach things. But whatever I don't want to do is hire somebody and say, here's a phone, go do it. That's not what I want to do. So, but the knowledge of training and having the expertise, like, I don't know what you do on your side. I know Bruno's all over the place, but people are like, why aren't you just selling medical buildings? Why aren't you selling this? Well, I sell it all because I think a generalist is where you need to be, because then you can answer different things. Because on a residential side, you get a past client or a current client, they got usually one house, usually.
Yep.
But here we walk in, and as Phil Delaney used to tell me, a honeypot. And he works for KW, and Phil is always talking about, Jeff, you've got to get some wells. You've got to have 5, 10 of these, and you can just work with them. And I get what he's saying. And that's the old mentality, and you do that. But they're also not going to buy just something simple. I mean, I've selling cemetery, medical buildings, dentist buildings, Cardinals, the dentist for the Cardinals, St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh, yeah,
He's
yeah,
one of my
okay.
clients, put him in one. Anesthesiologist. I sell adult novelty stores, liquor stores. As long as anything's got to do with commercial, I'm doing it. I even own a hemp farm right now. So, but I had to go learn all that stuff, But it was just fun. Open your eyes. Versus, like I said, just being a residential agent, house is a house.
Yep.
Nothing
It
there.
depends on price and square foot.
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of taken a different approach as I've gotten more involved and really integrated myself into this industry, where when I first started, I actually I figured, okay, I'm going to specialize in medical because I'm the only one in my immediate family who doesn't work in medicine. My dad's a retired anesthesiologist, my mom's a retired school nurse, and my brother just finished nursing school. So I grew up in a household of helping people, and I understood the jargon of medicals and also the different specialties like you highlighted a few minutes ago. It's very, very different. And I've actually used that analogy with several residential agents where they're like, well, why can't I do commercial? Well, it's like, think of yourselves as all doctors, and then think of us as like, the cardiologist is the guy who just does industrial. The anesthesiologist is the guy who just does hotels. And you can get yourself niched as much as possible. What I've really started to focus on is the industrial aspect as well as the hospitality aspect, simply because the market here in Atlanta is ridiculous for those two subsectors of commercial real estate. Mm-hmm. Now, going back to your point on technology too, like I did a presentation last week for my mentorship group of about 20 people that my boss was so kindly enough to pay for. And I had to teach my mentor what search engine optimization was and why it was important for when you're building a website for your commercial real estate. If somebody types in the phrase like commercial real estate agent near me, there's a whole list of different factors that are going to go in play to make sure that your company is over mine or mine is over somebody else's. And it was enlightening for them because despite being a massive powerhouse in real estate, KW, this was the first they'd ever heard of being able to use this type of technology to not only benefit their agents, but their business themselves, at least from a micro standard, not a big macro standard. But yeah, it's especially now in 2022. I don't know about you, but things have just been exploding. It seems everybody was kind of holding their breath last year, and now that the tides have turned with COVID, the sky's the limit for how much we can make.
So let's talk about that. Where do you guys see the market right now, and where do you see it out the rest of this year here in 2022, the commercial real estate market? Why don't you start?
I mean, right now it's excellent, and there's no doubt about that. We're getting listings from land and putting it on the market and being sold within days. Mm-hmm. And if it's priced right, it will definitely do it. The market, I do believe, is going to be unbelievable next year. First quarter of next year is when we're going to see a turn, especially with the Fed they're raising the basis points. Mm-hmm. Cap rates are going to go up, which makes it indicative of the pricing going to come down. And if someone wants to even think about selling next 3 to 5 years, my thing would be to them is like, hey, brother, sister, friend, you need to think about really considering, because it's going to drop. And it's going to drop big time
right now, because I think maybe late Q3, Q4, you're going to start seeing the little factors of slower houses being sold, and ultimately, like, the residential real estate market slightly dictates how the commercial market is going, because it's just so much more volume than what we do, at least on a transaction basis. More so, like, in 2021, debt and equity capital was just absolutely massive, and you had record transaction volumes made up from a lot of the pandemic PPP loans, very, very low interest rates. 2022, you're still going to be seeing those coattails being ridden, but towards the end of this year, I really think people are going to have to start seriously looking at what they want to do with their money, because, like you said, this isn't going to last forever. We're in a state of unprecedented rebound economically on all facets, but yeah, the tide is going to turn, and it's going to be sooner than people think.
Yeah, there's a lot of flares going off right now, and it's it's sketchy, and it can go a lot of different ways. So the thing with commercial real estate is it's inflationary times, which this inflation's not going away. It's not transitory. It is for us. Inflation is generally good for real estate, so that could be a positive. What are some factors which may make you think, Jeff, you had said it was going to boom next year? Well, if we've got higher rates and some of these other things, what are some good drivers as why commercial real estate, let's say stocks and bonds, might struggle here? Where do you put your money? What make the case for commercial real estate? Putting our money in commercial real estate as opposed to, say, stocks.
Well, as the old adage says, they're not making more dirt and more land. That's one reason to put it there. Developers still going to have to develop. They're still going to build houses.
Yep.
Families are still having kids, so that will happen, even though there will be that drop there. But also, if you can get the right piece, you got the income coming in, and you own something, you own an asset with a little bit of debt on it, and if the numbers make sense, where as your stocks, yes, very liquid, you get in and out, but all of a sudden you lose 30-40% in your portfolio. It's very hard to lose 30-40% of your portfolio when you own an asset.
Yep.
Unless a big tenant moves out, well, you just go get another tenant.
Right.
There's more great prospects you can do business with. There's more tenants out there you can do business with.
Right.
But I own something tangible, and that's the key to it. That's where I see it. You can talk about the house flippers out there. They own these little houses, and it's great. They make a lot of money. John Adams down here is the king of flipping houses here in Atlanta, Georgia. But if you look at how, because everybody needs somewhere to live, but why do commercial? Because it's a lot easier. You're dealing with business. You're not having the eviction process is so small and easier to get someone out versus like in COVID. They would just quit paying their rent, and then all of a sudden you're stuck with the mortgage and you're taking money, and people are emotional because that's where their family lives, and you're asking them to leave. But here, hey, man, I'm sorry, you're not paying your rent. You need to leave. People leave. This is a different world. I think one of the things to do, too, also is try to do some syndicates. As a broker, if you can put your money and roll some of your money into a deal where you just own a little piece, 5, 10, 15% of it, it's great. And the next thing you know, you've got all these little checks coming in, and you have a big check. And your money is actually working for you at night versus a stock market. You go to bed, you're up 200 points, and then all of a sudden, next thing you're down 600, you lost 25% of your portfolio. It's not really working for you. It's counterintuitive and working against you.
Yeah, the benefit of the liquidity in stocks, to me, really doesn't outweigh the increased volatility. Like with real estate, you're going to have a finite asset, and as you said, like there's only a certain amount of dirt on the ground. And so if you're able to at least research a certain market or something that is really going to be forecasting, I mean, look at Flowery Branch and Sugarloaf right now. It's unbelievable how quickly they're building new developments. People are moving out of the city. And especially in Atlanta, too, I think we're in a very unique metro area compared to a lot of the other major metropolitan cities, simply because we were pretty much full-scale open economically from June 2020 on. So on top of our own growth from locals here in Georgia, we also had a tremendous amount of investment coming, not just internationally, but from more COVID-restricted states such as New York and California. some parts of Texas, but Atlanta and Austin seem to be the two largest benefactors of COVID right now. And that's simply because like we valued business over health, and it worked out for us.
Well, with stocks, back to that concept, you are investing technically in a company, which would sound good, except that so many factors can mess with the stock. It could be, the chairman said this or did that, and that moves it. Whereas commercial real estate, it really is just an economic thing. Here in the Southeast, especially here in Atlanta, we have a lot more people moving here than are moving away, and it's the whole Southeast is really kind of booming. I mean, Charlotte and Greenville and here and Florida, and so that's going to continue. There's nothing really to stop that per se, because we are more business amenable, I think, than a lot of the Northeastern or California or some of those other states. So, so economically, if those factors are driving in, then as long as you're buying the right property at the right cap rate, and then you should be fine regardless of what happens on Wall Street. Because it's just it's a part of the you're buying something, like you said.
Oh yeah,
right.
100%.
And if you want to do something from a stock standpoint, there are Delaware statutory trusts out there that you can invest in, and they are 1031 exchange friendly too. So you might want to own a portfolio of automotives, or you like CVS's and medical, and you say, I want to put my money in here, and you just buy certain shares of it. It's a lot of people don't know about how that works. Your finance guy is not going to tell you because he don't make any money off of
Exactly.
it. Plain and simple. So, but if you have a guy that's sitting around with $200,000 or $300,000, you find one little thing, you just put that in there and you identify it in your 45-day period, and it saves money. It does hurt us commercial brokers. We don't make any money off that side. It doesn't hurt them. But if we're really truly waking up, help our client, we go help them put it there, because it'll come back to you. The old adage is give the give, don't give the get. So as long as I'm keep giving out there, but those are so many small strategies for people to do.
Yeah, and it's so much easier to recoup money than recoup reputation. If you get the reputation in this industry, especially in Atlanta, where despite our geographic size, we're a relatively small industry compared to like LA or New York. If you get the reputation of just being a one and done burner, like other brokers are going to find out and other clients are going to find out. So like, yeah, we might not make any money on one transaction, but we built a relationship enough to continue to do business with them down the line.
Right. So let's speak to the overall market here. You guys think is going strong. Do you see any potential danger if the affairs out in the Midwest or out in Ukraine and everything get worse, and maybe this becomes what we call a full-scale war? What do you think to that? I mean, it's on no one's radar right now, but
it's a great question.
There's things that are happening that can make you think. So should a person out there with money be nervous about that? What should they do? What do you guys think? I know it's a loaded question, and we didn't prepare for that.
No, absolutely. I ultimately think it depends on what sector they're in. Like industrial, especially shipping and logistics, could benefit greatly from it, because if we do end up getting into a full-blown war and need to continue to send supplies to Ukraine or any of these NATO allies, that could be a huge benefit for them. My uncle's brother, yes, he owns a 600,000 square foot logistical company in Charleston, South Carolina. Since the war started, his exports have gone up. I don't want to give a percentage, but it's been at least 10%. It could have a positive effect on that. On the other side of it, like, because Russia has such a dominant control on oil, and because COVID ultimately decimated our fracking industry. Before COVID, there were about 12,000 companies that did fracking in the United States. Most of them were in Oklahoma, Texas, shale underneath companies, North Dakota. But due to the lack of demand for oil when we were all in that lockdown 24 months ago, it went from 12,000 companies to now there's only about 20 large companies. So that's a lot of the reason why we're having these increased oil prices, or at least one of the major reasons, is because we simply don't have enough of the supply to do the refining process as we did pre-COVID. Now, in terms of the other sectors, it really depends. We might be shipping medical stuff to Ukraine and these allied countries. Medical could go up. We're also, I read that we're taking in 100,000 Ukrainian refugees. That could also have some lasting impacts on our industry, but it's a lot of this is still really up in the air.
Right. I think the point, though, you made a good point, is with commercial, because there's different segments, because there is industrial, there's hotel, there's apartments, there's all these different types of things. You can kind of diversify within commercial without leaving even the investment, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
you can just look at it and say, all right, if this, then what's the opportunity that brings, and then you can target that opportunity within the market, And I know, Jeff, you stay on top of everything and what's going on. How would that work with you, like where you could maybe help people get into talk about that maybe a little bit?
One of the segments, one of the things, let's go back to one point Tim was talking about. I think one of the things COVID showed America in our industry is how to pivot. We went from distilleries making hand sanitizer and then people just watching it. So I think that's going to still help. I think that this country is still a very entrepreneurial country, even though you can not even get into the politics about it, but I think there's a lot of people out there that still at the end of the day come up, and we have a lot of people that have different business acumens. So I definitely say that. But now there are going to be parts, like if you were just going back to just being a hotel guy, you suffered as a broker, and you had to help your people out, and you're giving away something. So that's why the diversity is very great, because I've lost a whole bunch of deals. I lost like 8-9 deals in first March, and there were a lot of the restaurant retail deals.
Yep.
But because of the amount of listings I carried, land, medical, and everything else, it was a total shift. It made me start thinking. We started doing more of a one little room in an office and started breaking them up instead of having 5,000 or 6,000 people to bring money in. And the reason we did that, we found out spouses didn't want to be around their spouses, so they had to get out of the house. So that was the biggest thing to do.
That's why home renovations went through the roof during COVID, because it's like, all right, I'm putting an office down in the basement. I can't deal with these kids anymore.
That's right.
The wife is home too, and the dog is continually yapping. To your point, that's I kind of operated the same way when I first started in this industry. I was doing medical, and then once COVID hit, everything shifted for medical space, and either people were just really wanting to stay put, or they were like, especially dentists, screw this, I'm retiring. I was going to give my last 5 years, but it's not worth it. So going back to how success to me is basically how quickly you can adapt to unexpected change. Industrial is booming, and retail was getting there. So I pivoted towards industrial. I did 3 industrial deals last year. I'm learning about the industry. It's going to continue to grow here in Atlanta. I mean, how many millions of square feet have we put up in the last 18 months? 6 million, yes. I want to say.
Exactly.
Amazon's got a logistics down here. UPS built a new one. FedEx, it's going to continue to grow in that regard. But to your point, you have to adapt, because even on a day-to-day basis, our industry is just full of surprises, and you really never know what is going to happen, no matter how much you can control it.
Right. It's awesome. So, disruption, it always brings opportunity. That's the bottom line. I think what's important is that you got to stay aware of what's going on, but you should be always positively focused on the opportunities that might present itself. And if you do that, you're going to be okay. Commercial, at the end of the day, is investments, and it's something that you're buying that's real, and it's something that has long-term benefits and tax write-offs and so many benefits to it. So it's really just stay focused and then get experience experienced help to help you navigate it. Because if you don't understand cap rates and you don't understand, the nuances of the different financing options that are out there, then you can end up in a deal that's not as good as it could be. So that's about it for our show. So why don't you guys tell us how you can be reached, all your contact info, and Jeff, why don't you start? And then
I'm Jeff Hammond. Email is jhammond@svn.com. Cell phone number is 210-889-6819. That's 210-889-6819. I am located here, even though it's a San Antonio phone number, and it's not spamming anybody. But I am based out of Roswell, Georgia. There's 159 counties here in Georgia. I have been successful of selling, I think I counted up the other day, almost 63 different counties, or have listings in 63 different counties. My goal is to sell in all 159. But yes, I help you out in Georgia, Texas, anywhere in the Southeast, from Missouri on down.
So you're licensed in all those areas?
All those states. And plus with the SVN brand, and then what's different between us and also a Keller, we can actually reach out and help a buyer or listing, and we change with our referral fees amongst us versus residential agents don't think that. Mm-hmm. That's what's great about having these national brands and that outreach. So when you do have a client that says, I want to buy something in Florida or Texas, you can find something about it and knowing those markets and areas.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've called other KW brokers in Texas, New York, met a lot of them at our national conference in February, and we're able to do co-brokerage agreements for certain deals that are going to be out of state, because you will get those private investors who are like, I want multifamily in Georgia and South Carolina and Texas, and these are my other parameters. So it makes it a lot easier working for a larger firm such as SVN or KW. Right. My name is Tim Husted. My direct number is 302, go Delaware, 690-7977.
What is with you guys with these numbers?
I have had the same cell phone number since 1999, and I'm not changing it anytime soon. My email address is tim@tcg-kw.com. That's tim@tcg-kw.com. We have offices in Duluth. We have an office in Athens, Greenville, South Carolina, Woodstock, Georgia, and we're looking to expand in Nashville as well as Florida by 2023. So big things are on the horizon.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us for Top Realtors of Atlanta, presented by Commercial Capital Limited and the Taillefer Commercial Group. We offer new shows on the second and fourth Tuesday of every month, so keep an eye out for those. You can find us on Apple iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you enjoy your favorite podcasts. You can also enjoy the show anytime by visiting Business RadioX, selecting the Gwinnett Studio, and then clicking on Top Realtors of Atlanta. Thanks again to my guests here. You guys were awesome. And on behalf of Commercial Capital and the Taillefer Commercial Group, I'm Brian Peart, and this has been Top Realtors of Atlanta on Business RadioX.